Get your tickets for the Detroit is Different Festival, October 25th through 27th. Tickets online at DetroitisDifferent.com. DetroitisDifferent.com. All right, it is Saturday night, March 10th, 2018. I'm here with somebody that's known me my whole life. We actually are in the house that ties us together big time. Detroit is Different Studios takes place in what was my grandma's house, and to me it still is my grandma's house, even though it's a podcast studio and a video studio and recording studio and so much more to other people. It's still my grandma's house, my mother dear. But my big homie of all big homies, it starts with my big sister Dara Harper. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on the show. It's a lot of memories to be back in this house with us together back in the D. It's good to be home.
Yeah, right now you just recently made the move out to LA. A lot of different things you're pursuing with movies, films, writing scripts, directing, animation, all types of things. And let's start a little bit there because I want to bring you back to show a full-length feature that you've put together, as animation is something big that you're into, and animating black faces. So let's start there. You're my sister. I know your story a little bit, obviously more so. Everything. But for everybody listening, how did you get interested in animation?
Well, I always did love the Disney cartoons. The Little Mermaid was my personal favorite. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you remember me watching the DVD. I mean, well, this was this was pre-DVD, VHS tape. Mm-hmm. Over and over again until you got those fuzzy lines at the bottom of the screen type deal. Mm-hmm. Loving Sebastian the Crab. Mm-hmm. But also growing up, as a black girl, looking at the screen and seeing that Ariel didn't look anything like me. Mm-hmm. And, one Disney cartoon and one princess after the other, like Snow White and all the other ones, they didn't look like me either. Mm-hmm. And in more recent years, it's definitely a little more diverse, but Disney still has yet to, or even any of the Hollywood studios, even the independent ones, have yet to present image of like an African animation. Mm-hmm. When we think of African animation, what comes to mind for most people? The Lion King. But they chose to tell that story with animals instead of people. So I look to Simba or Nala or somebody, but it still doesn't look like me and you. Mm-hmm. So my journey as an artist began all those years ago when, just drawing and playing around with different stories and playing around with a very old Mac. The Macintosh where it had the apple in the corner of the screen and the small little black and white gray screen, and learning how to use Mac Draw, Mac Paint. I'm dating myself here, but falling in love with those things. And then I eventually went on to the Detroit High School for Fine and Performing Arts, where we were immersed in art for 3 hours a day. So that really helped me craft and build my talents as a visual artist, and also my minor was drama. So it helped me to get more comfortable, even learn about film and storytelling in that way. So I always knew I wanted to stay with it. And even in college at the International Academy of Design and Technology in Chicago, I studied 2D and 3D animation, but it was all digital. So then this hard, complicated thing of making an animation, it was like, as opposed to like needing a team of 100 people, my teacher showed me how I could do it with one computer myself.
So let's start right there with computers. As our father bought his first Mac in, I want to say, was that 87?
Yeah, maybe 86.
86,
yeah.
87. So in 86, 87, this is before the big commercial with the sledgehammer through the screen and everything. My dad was one of the first people to have a Mac.
Right.
And when he bought a Mac, he also bought us a Macintosh, meaning he bought two computers. He bought one for himself, and then he bought one for his children, me and you. And you took to it a whole lot more than me, but you being my big sister, I see some of the art you do, and I want to do some things. But let's talk a little bit about that. Being before even being a teenager, before hitting the age of 10. Like we were.
Well, I was 5 years old. I was 5 or 6. So that exposure, learning how to use a mouse, learning how to draw with a mouse. So because I was still learning how to draw, using the mouse was organic to me. Like some people think it's antiquated to use the mouse to draw. Even today, I can still draw with a mouse. I don't need the stylus. I don't need the graphics tablet. But it was a special time because on this little computer with the screen, that was about the size of a little box, I could create all of these cool things. You and I would fight over computer time. I don't know if you remember all those battles. So I would type up stories. I typed and wrote a story when I was 7 years old in the 2nd grade. I don't know if you remember this, but this story that I wrote about a princess, and this is kind of a story that, I don't know, it maybe give me a little trouble here, but our parents were very open and honest with us about all types of topics, including like good touch, bad touch, what is sex, etc. Anatomically correct, words for the parts of a man and a woman. So none of this was foreign to me. So in my story, I wrote a story about a princess, and she discovers a magical turtle that takes her to a place with using a rainbow road, and she meets the king of this village. She marries the king, and I actually put in the story, I typed, they have sex, period. And I printed off the story on our laser printer, which cost a fortune at that time, and the ink was even so expensive. It's hard to believe.
Back in the day, yeah.
And so I printed out the story. It was a 7-page story, and I stapled it. And I printed out several copies. And my mom was asking, because, ink is so expensive, like, what are you printing, Dara? And I'm like, this is my first story. I want to share it with my friends at school. And she was like, that's great. That's wonderful. Like, mom hadn't even read the story, right? So I go to school, and this is where I'm learning my salesmanship skills. I say, I've got a story. I'll sell it to you for $0.25. And the kids are like, we don't want to buy your story. We don't care about your story. But what I would do is I would go to the last page of the story when I would reveal she married the king and they had sex, period.
So sex sold even
I couldn't even tell you.
Grade.
I couldn't tell you how many quarters my pocket was overflowing with quarters, right?
And this is what's unique. You're my own sister, and I didn't even know. Yeah. I didn't know that was.
This was at Nataki Taliba, an African-centered elementary school, right? So I'm selling these stories in the cafeteria. This is a private school with like a lot of kids that come from with parents from very prestigious backgrounds, etc. And so the principal of the school called my mom and dad into the office, and she said, "Mr. and Mrs. Frazier, your daughter." I received a complaint from a parent regarding this story. It's inappropriate for her to be distributing this material, furthermore, selling it on the school premises, et cetera, right? And then, mom's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Mom, she's like, oh, we're going to talk to Dara. And then dad, he had this smirk on his face. Well, kid figured out early that sex sells.
Hilarious.
You didn't even know that one, huh?
No, I never even knew that story.
Yeah, so that was like me combining my storytelling abilities, marketing it, and actually like finding an audience for my material. It's something that still is like, it's still an amazing feat to do that even all these years later. But that's how I fell in love with that process. It's you as an artist creating content and then distributing that and hopefully finding and connecting to an audience.
Okay, so connecting to an audience, now we can truncate and move a little bit to DSA, where you develop more of your skills as an artist. But what was that like? Because you went to early DSA. You went to old DSA.
The old DSA on Grand River, off of Grand River, and like in the cut by Rosa Parks and all of that. So yes, which is all abandoned. The land is it's nothing there now. So in those early days of DSA, first off, Dr. Cotton now, this was before she got married. She was Dr. Davis, Dr. Denise Darcell Davis. We used to call her Triple D. She had this vision of a school, a performing arts high school in the heart of the city of Detroit, where kids from the east side and the west side would come together, learn visual arts, paint, dance, drama, vocal, instrumental, etc. And the way that she allowed us to have that 3 hours of art every day was that it was an extended school day. So you would have to, the day DSA I think started at like 7:45, 7:45 roughly in the morning, and you stayed until 4:30 p.m. So that's almost like a work day, like working a day job. Like some schools let out as early as 3. We were there until 4:30, and we had like a shortened lunch period. But for us, it was a joy because we got to do, as long as you kept up your academics, you got to stay at that school and do the art that you loved. And also studio time was required, I think twice a week, where we had to stay 1 hour after school, at least twice a week or something. So it was really emphasized that if you're going to study your craft as an artist, this is not just like something that you passively say, like, I'm an artist. Like, no. You're going to sit here, you're going to learn the craft. I had 2 incredible visual arts teachers. I had Mrs. Glenn Gale. She was like the most amazing teacher because she pushed me. I thought I was a good artist. I thought I could draw. Mm-hmm. And she told me, she said, Dara, you're good, but you could be so much better. And I would turn in something and I would think that it's, good enough. And she's like, I know you've got better in you. And she would make me redo the entire assignment, and I'd be so frustrated. But looking back, Mrs. Glenn really pushed me to excel. She didn't just take like any old thing from me. Like sometimes people, especially when it comes to assignments and you feel like you're smart and you've got some skills, like I'm going to do just enough to get through it. She never accepted that. And then my other teacher was Mr. Henry Boyd, who was a very sharp dresser, very talented painter. And he taught us that craft, and he taught us a lot of different things. So the complement of both of them, and also some of the drama teachers and others that I learned from through that time at DSA, in addition to the strong academic curriculum. When I talk about being a product of Detroit Public Schools, like as much as everything is going on right now, then I'm aware of it, even though I'm living in LA right now, or technically Inglewood, but in LA County, I still keep an eye on everything that's here. And I can tell you that Detroit has, at that time and even today, some of the most talented, artistic, creative, and brilliant kids in the country, in the world. And I felt very much a part of that at DSA. Aaliyah was 2 grades up from me. And she was very nice. Like, usually upperclassmen don't speak to, like, lowerclassmen at all. Like, if you're a freshman, only freshmen will talk to you. You have to be in high school to understand this. Nobody, like a 10th grader, won't even make eye contact with you. But she was always nice to me. Like, if I was coming out of tap class and she would always say, like, hi. Like, I'll never forget that. Like, she was really sweet. And very down to earth. Like, you would never know that she had like a hit album out because she was just with us. And I felt that DSA experience, and so many people that I went to school with have gone on to do wonderful things. It was a very special time to be there, and it was a very small, close-knit school. Like, there were only about, I want to say, 400 kids total when I went. So you could line up 100 DSA students against the wall and put one kid from another school, and I could point out the kid that came from another school. That's how close-knit it was. And for me, like, being what some people may have classified, especially growing up in the inner city, in this neighborhood where we grew up, maybe a little nerdy, like, being teased, you talk like a white girl, because let me tell you something, like, that our mother was never going to allow us to speak Ebonics. Like, she was on us about proper English.
I know.
I didn't learn street language until I didn't learn street language until I matriculated much later in this life. But
and I matriculated a lot earlier, being a boy. hanging
Yeah,
out with
yeah,
the people
yeah.
in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah,
No doubt.
I was on punishment all the time for broken English.
Yeah,
Saying
the like.
something Juan said.
But
Rest
you know,
in peace, Juan.
that's right. Rest in peace, brother Juan, for sure. But I, like being teased for different things and looking back at it, being the kind of kid that I was in this environment, I still felt like at home in this neighborhood. Like this still feels like home to me. Yeah, but I never felt like I was like ostracized from my community. But when I came to DSA, then I was thinking like, oh wow, there are creative kids that are like nerdy like me and quirky like me and have the same kind of sense of humor that I have. And I felt like I had found a home. Like when you're an artist sometimes, and every artist is different, but I felt sometimes on my own like, am I the only person that likes this kind of music, or am I the only person that whatever. And it was like a little bit of everybody being accepted. Like even at DSA all those years ago, there were boys who black boys who wore makeup, and they walked down the hall and nobody said anything. Nobody pushed them or challenged them. Like it was a very open environment.
Now, as you talk about that, and we've had talks about this, like, because now your mom, you have my nephew Solomon, and just growing up and just a whole thing he went through. And one of the things I didn't know, like, you'll be in the same house as somebody, like, you're a door away. But, like, all the bullying that you went through at a younger age, but then you ended up at DSA and it kind of fit in. And what that meant and what that experience was like, and what did that mean, because you went through some things at other schools, but then ending up at DSA, it just fit. Yeah,
it was hard for me because, like I said, I was bullied, I was teased, I was picked on a lot. And it was very hurtful and painful. I kept a diary of those times, and I was like 10 or 11 years old writing like about how much sadness I felt. And it's hurtful to read back through some of those notes and see like exactly the pain that I felt. And that's one of the other reasons why I always tell people, especially, younger people, when I have the chance, that acceptance of others who are different is paramount. But it's not, but still, like when I think about what I went through, it definitely helped shape my character. It made me the person that I am today, because that made me toughen up. It forced me to. And although I never had to like get into physical confrontations with these bullies, thank God for that, the emotional terror of it was intense. And I didn't feel like the teachers were in my corner either at points. I felt like I was very much on my own. And that isolation was painful. I remember like there were times that I just would go a whole day and barely say like hello or good morning to anybody. And nobody would say much to me either. So I felt like very much on my own. DSA was a place where I could be myself, like I felt like there was no judgment. And as long as I focused, and actually that's another thing, it's a place where good grades were celebrated. So me being the kind of kid that I am and the achiever that I was, like I prided myself in like not having to try too hard to get good grades. Like in my life, I mean, I was like mostly an A and B student with occasional C, every once in a very rare blue moon, a D. But it was an environment that encouraged me to say, like, I remember when they would post the grades, like, the GPA, our counselor, Mr. J. Levine, he was amazing. He would actually print out the GPAs of all the students and put it on for the honor roll. So we could see like, oh, you're 3.7, but I'm 3.78. I got you, like it would be like a friendly competition. I don't think that was the experience that some people had at school, but that was like
definitely not mine.
It was a big day when he was posting those grades up. We would all be like so excited to see where we were, and like wondering, like it would just be the GPAs at first before the report cards were even printed. So I felt like I had found like a home. I felt like I found some place where I was accepted. And even all those years later, like living in New York, the theater scene and different places I've encountered, I felt like at home all over again.
Okay. So you also, along this time, and you brought me along with you for this journey, and I was real young, but you did the summer art workshop. Was it the summer art workshop or
summer art workshop?
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about that, because you were young, and it's so funny. Our cousin, she reminds me a lot of you and me, Khalifa, because she has like Camp Khalifa or whatever, and Solomon being part of that. So she does all types of just, it's weird, like how much she reminds me of me and you in different, you know what I'm saying? Like in different personality.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
So talk a little bit about starting that and what that was and what led you to do that.
Yeah. Khalifa's amazing, by the way. I highly recommend Camp Khalifa. Solomon loved every moment of that.
Khalifa is the homie.
Yes, for sure. So the summer art workshop. Okay. So since I was a part of this, it's like cool. Like I was in a clique. I was in the cool crowd because I was a smart kid that could draw. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure, like, how many schools is that happening? Like, that's where I felt home. So, the principal of the school picked me and one of my closest friends, Sherry Kolick. She is so cool. That girl is awesome. She's doing her art right now in New York. She picked us to go represent DSA at a citywide youth summit that was being held by, at the time, the director of the youth department, Arlene Robinson, sponsored by the city of Detroit. And this was a brand new department that under Mayor Archer, they had introduced this youth department to find out more about what children and people in the community wanted for youth. So we went to the summit. I think it was at Cobo Hall or something like that. And it was like a lunch and a chance to meet kids from other schools. Like, I really didn't think too much of it. But when Dr. Robinson spoke, I was listening to her, and she said, when you're out there as a young person, as you get older, you're going to understand the value of networking. So when you have an opportunity, shake somebody's hand, introduce yourself, ask for their card. See how you can keep in touch with them. She was saying that. And I was thinking, like, you know what? I'm going to go ask for her card. So that's exactly what I did. I introduced myself the way that she said, and I asked for her card.
You applied what she just said from the
I did.
The speech.
And I said, is it okay if I call you because I have an idea and I want to talk to you about it? And she said, sure. So then I came home and I told my mom about it. I said, Mom, I think, because, we had done a couple of Saturday things at the house for our cousins, like our little cousins, which was really like, and I love Aunt Shirley so much. All of Aunt Shirley's grandkids were our students, right? And she was paying us like $5 every Saturday to like watch them for 2 hours and do some art. Like, I don't know if you even remember that, but this preceded that. And also with Rhodey, when Rhodey came home from college, we helped her with her summer program. So that was our first job, and it was a great experience too.
Well, that was your first. My first job was actually delivering papers with Mr. Bastida.
Okay, well, so that was your second job then. You already had a one-up on me, and you were younger. So, yeah, that was my first job. And, with Rhodey with the summer program, and that was really cool. So, make a long story short, I told Mom about the idea, and she said, well, why don't you write it into a proposal? So she gave me the kind of like the points of what a proposal needed. You and I typed it up together, and Dr. Robinson.
That means you did a lot of the typing, because I didn't.
Yeah, well, we talked through some ideas. I did most of the typing.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I didn't get good at typing, and definitely not grammar for a proposal that looks anything.
Well, that, Mom went over that stuff with a fine-tooth comb after it was done. And we had a little budget. The budget was like $5,000 to cover the cost of renting a facility, paying teachers. The concept was that we would have youth teaching youth. So in other words, at the time, I think I was 14, you were 13. The friends that we wanted to hire were between the ages of like 12 and 14 or 15. And we would have a group of youth between the ages of 9 through 12. So it was like youth teaching youth. And of course we would have a budget for some adult supervision, which really was my mom, Mother Dear, and it was someone else.
I think Shirley number 2.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. So that was and then also some food. I think there was a budget for, there was definitely a budget for food.
You gotta feed kids.
And there was a little budget for like some supplies and a field trip or something. It was like really basic, but looking back at it, like $5,000 was a very affordable thing for a 3-week summer program. So I went to Arlene. I gave the presentation. Like, she invited me, and I was so nervous. Mom took me shopping. She got me a new business suit. She let me carry her briefcase. I put the proposal in there, and I had on heels. I wasn't used to walking in heels. I walked into the City of Detroit building. I was riding the elevator up thinking, like, I'm about to present this in front of, like, a conference room full of people. The mayor might even be there. Like, my mind is going, like, how am I going to do this? How will I do this presentation? But much to my relief, it was just me and Arlene in the room. And we talked about it, and she said, I like this, Dara, and I like you. And she says, let's see if we can make this happen. And she was like, I'll get back to you. And I was like waiting by the phone. But then after about a week or two, I stopped waiting because, time was moving on. Then one day in the spring, the phone rings, and she says, got approved, got the funds to do this program. And we'll be at the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church Community Center. So there we were. I picked up the phone, and I called our friends that we were going to hire. I was the director, you were the assistant director.
As much as, you can talk about giving people a title. So my role was to supervise the entire program. Nepotism, right, at its finest, right? Because Mom was there, Mother Dear was there. So it was my job to supervise the entire program. And there were different moments, like, Diara taught the African drumming class. Yeah, okay, and then DR.
My aunt taught the dance class. Her cousin taught a poetry class.
Yep.
And you did the comic book class, and then I forgot what I had. So, and we had Lumumba come in. We had like a little small budget, I guess, because we also had Lumumba come in, or maybe he did this like just be on the love to come in and do like a video production thing. Like, it was really cool. So, this program taught me a lot. I managed a team. I'd never done that before. So I had to be a supervisor. Oh, my best friend Mia, at the time, she taught an art class. Like, it was really cool. Like, everybody made the commitment for the most part. It was for 3 weeks. And the kids were great. Like, our kids were well behaved. Like, kids listening to kids, it was actually a pretty cool concept. And that gave me an introduction to how much I love to work with youth. How much I love to like, when you have an opportunity to share what you know, it's a beautiful thing. And I really loved that experience. There was a lot of fond memories of that. Like, I don't know if you remember, but we actually had two of our friends come on as like janitorial services too, for all the messes that were made during the day. Like
Taha and
yeah. Do you remember that?
It's so funny. It's like all these people are grown and doing different things now, from then. Like, DR is on the Vet Life, which is one of Animal Planet's. He's the lead veterinarian on one of Animal Planet's biggest shows right now. So
and I'm so like, I love the show, and I'm so proud of him, and I gave him his first job. That's hilarious. Like, don't forget me, DR. Like, I'm right here. Like, I need you to give me my 31st job.
My 31st job. I know. So like, when we get into like all of this and transitioning, and then that level of confidence, facing from like what you dealt with still at a young age, from feeling so low from being bullied and dealing with depression over that, to like being on a high of like entrepreneurship, contracting, a contract with the city. I mean, it's people right now scratching to get a contract.
It's hard.
With the city.
It's hard to get those government contracts, I'm gonna tell you. And then and the blessing of my parents, right? So a $5,000 grant does not mean you get paid the next day when you have a city contract or any kind of government contract. So in actuality, we didn't have the check when we started the program. The funds for the building were covered. I think that was like some kind of credit extended. I don't remember how that worked to make sure that the facility costs were covered and some insurance costs were covered. But as far as like payroll, no. For my 14 and 13-year-old and 12-year-old friends, that check was not cut. So mom and dad, they covered all those costs. And then when the check came, Dr. Robinson said, the check is here. And she got on the phone and she said, I want to make sure that, Jan, I have you on the line, because she knew mom and dad had done this. She's like, I want to make sure that Dara, make sure that everybody is paid what they were promised. And then mom was like, well, we already covered all those things, Arlene. But, it'll be like reimbursed. But you and I hadn't gotten paid. So when that check came, you and I finally got paid.
I didn't even remember that detail.
So that was like, we had to wait a couple months. Like our friends were paid on time because of mom and dad. Thank God for that.
Borrow money from Taha.
Yeah, we should have been borrowing money from our employees, and that's actually a real thing about business, right? So we weren't paid, and we were like, when it's your business, sometimes you're not get paid, but you have to make sure your employees eat. So it was a very early on lesson, because I would just assume, like, the city of Detroit, the check will be there, right? Like, I never knew that a check from a program that had already started could take months to come. And it probably could even take longer now. So what ended up happening was, when I got my check, I was like, Ma, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, it's a check in my name. Like, I was like super excited that, it was only like a couple $100, but it felt like, everything to me at that time. And I was feeling like I was on top of the world. The city of Detroit, it was a really big hit. It was well received. We had a program, end of the year program. And Mr. Carter, who worked in the office, Dwayne Carter, he came with Arlene Robinson and a couple other people from the city to the program where we gave out little awards to the kids for participating. And the newspapers did a story on me, the Detroit News and the Free Press. So I was like, I think I was front page news on one of those. So I was like a hometown. I was like beyond a hometown celebrity. I'll never forget, like, you remember Delicious off of
off Flavor of Love.
Yeah.
I mean, right now she's or London Charles from doing other stuff we were just talking about.
Yeah.
I met her because she did, one of my best friends was managing, what was that? King of Diamond Strip Club, and then she do like a night there too. Okay, so I went to school with her. She was a few grades up from me. And like I told you, upperclassmen rarely speak. But once that newspaper hit, I'll never forget. She went out of her way. She was like, "Girl, I read your article in the newspaper. It was so cool." Like I was like really popular off of that. Like now everybody knew my name, and it kind of went to my head a little bit because I'm like, okay, now I'm like, and that was back when the printed newspaper was the thing. Like everybody's mama or daddy had it. Grandma's on the porch first thing in the morning with it, drinking a cup of coffee. Like it was that big of a deal. So everybody knew, and it opened a lot of doors for me because through that I ended up, and even though like I'm like not a fan of his politics at all, but Governor Engler, almost compared to Governor Snyder, Governor Engler looks like, oh my gosh, I don't even want to think about that. It's like W compared to our current president.
Yeah, it's like if Governor Engler is George W. and Snyder is Trump. So like hopefully like that's the best. That's a perfect analogy.
I know.
So at the time though,
white men being white men.
Well, and beyond that, I mean, this is like beyond even being a white man. This is
one has more friends at the country club.
Yeah, one has more friends, and also one has poisoned people. Since we have family up in Flint, and I think about all that stuff, I still get emotional when I think about it because I have Solomon. Yeah, and so anyway, with the Governor Engler bit,
one of our classic debates, I said that white man is not going to go to jail.
Well, we will see.
That white man is not going to go to jail.
And I will say it ain't over until it's over.
Cameron. That white man is going to walk scot-free. one of Ann Arbor's best white men, Governor Snyder. He's a murderer to me. He's a murderer to me. Continue.
I will, and we'll see. You know, because the arc of the universe, you know, the arc bends towards justice. So we have to. I mean, even if it feels like it doesn't, it still does. But what I was gonna say, and most days it feels
when
like
I get my reparations.
Most days it feels like it doesn't.
When I get my reparations, then I will agree with you there.
But let me go back to the Engler piece. So I guess Engler's people found out about me, and so I got a chance to go. I was invited to the governor's mansion. I got to meet Engler. I met John Engler and his wife, and at the time they had just had those triplets, three girls. So I told Ma, I said, I don't really want, I don't want to meet John Engler. Like, I don't want to do that. But Mom said, I'm going to take you up there because this isn't about politics. This is about an opportunity for you to, you know, this is a big deal. So Mom took me up there, and I was like, I don't want to take a picture with him. Do I have to take a picture with him? Like, I didn't want to do any of that. But I guess like now I look at all that through a different lens now. When I think about Snyder, it's like maybe I would take a picture today with Engler if it meant Snyder would be in jail tomorrow. I'd take 100 pictures with him.
That's what a lot of people that took their picture with Donald Trump when they met with him were thinking.
Yeah, that's true.
What Steve Harvey was thinking.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I felt like I had mixed emotions. I didn't want to do it at that time. But Engler offered me a scholarship. He offered me a couple things because of those things. So, but I didn't. He offered me a scholarship to Adrian College. Like, he almost knew I wasn't going to want to go there anyway. So that was a penny saved. But it opened up doors for me. And the most important thing that came out of that whole experience was that I got a chance to, sometimes the best things just start off with you picking up the ball and starting on your own. And you do have to have, like in my case, it was Arlene, someone to be in your amen corner, as the old folks say. Somebody to give you the green light or the okay. Sometimes you need that. And then if you prove yourself and you're able to see something through, that puts you in a different light. Because so many people, I have this thing about finna, gone to, want to, I'm finna do this, I'm gonna do that, I don't want to do that. And I don't even, sometimes when I have things in the development or in the works, I don't even discuss
it. On it because it's not real.
It's not tangible until right. Once the ink is dried on the contract and it's signed and it's official, then I will speak on certain things. But I don't even, I don't even go there because there are so many people finna do this, finna do that. And in this life, it's really about what have you done? What are you doing actively?
Yeah, and it's funny, like we completely same household, same parents. Relatively the same age. The difference is sex, obviously, or gender. I don't know. I mean, it's 2018. Ain't no telling. But we debate all the time. Like people have looked and laughed almost at how much we'll see things differently. And kind of into what you were saying, the Amen Corner. We were just having this discussion, I swear, a couple hours ago about me saying that the network you have can open up doors of accessibility. And just due to certain schools that people go to, you have different levels of influence in that network. And then also pulling that trigger. And that's what you were speaking to. And having the courage to pull the trigger. Because that's really the temperature. The fitna, gonna, bout to, a lot of that courage. Because that courage really is the courage to be rejected. And to still see the upside. Yeah. Because you're going to get shot down maybe 1,000,000 times. But you know that almost you have to, I believe, me, personally, I have a blind faith in the person that says no is moving me closer to a better yes. Which takes a different type of thinking to think to yourself, because you're going to sit in rooms where people will shoot holes in you and cut your legs down, especially in this creative world. They're going to question whether you're valid, whether what you did was valid. The classic, so what equipment did you work with? Who else has looked at this? Have you, did you use this software? And you may say no to all of that, but it's like, no, I don't care. I still had the best movie on earth. I don't care. Yeah, that person went to Juilliard, I don't care. That person went to Harvard, I don't care. Person went to Parsons, I don't care. I got something better. Mm-hmm. I'm better than that. Mm-hmm. And you know why? Because the streets feel me. Or because my mama said so. Or because I said so. I had a dream about this. And I woke up and spoke myself into the mirror. That's the crux of a lot of this stuff. In that blind faith to continue as you hear so many no's. Mm-hmm. As much as I don't like the artistry of the man, but you were the person that hit me to a lot of Tyler Perry's story. And just the way he kept betting on himself. Yeah,
I mean, you have to. Well, let me say this also. You have to bet on yourself. You have to not just believe in yourself, but you almost have to wake up and say, "I'm gonna make this work by hook or crook." That's something Mother Dear used to always say. Meaning, hopefully we don't have to turn into crooks to live our dreams, but. By hook or crook means you're, by any means necessary. So you're going to do this. Now, the rejection part. How do you deal with rejection? I've definitely dealt with my share. I still deal with a lot of rejection. I live in LA, and I was just telling my husband David the other day. I said it's a lot of cold shoulders in this sunny city.
If you're not getting shot down, if you're not getting rejected, you're not putting up enough goddamn shots. That's how I look at it. But that's the blind faith I have.
And then also, in addition to that blind faith, I also think you have to be strategic, right? Oh, yeah. I like how you talked about a no that's going to open the door to the right yes. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes, and I know a lot of people say this, and they're like, oh, you're just saying that trying to make me feel better. It don't feel good. But when you get a no in this life, whether it's a personal no or a business no or whatever goal you thought you wanted so desperately, I want this thing, and it didn't work out, and everybody's telling you like everything happens for a reason, just be patient. I don't want to hear that right now. I wanted that thing.
People are not trying to hear that shit at the moment.
But sometimes it is so true, right? So you have to you're not gonna get there immediately because you got to go through the pain of that rejection, and that pain is gonna make you more strategic. It's gonna build your integrity. It's gonna build your character. It's gonna give you resolve to keep pushing, because if a lot of this is a numbers game. Mm-hmm. If we pick up the phone right now and we call 10 people and ask them something, we're probably gonna hear no. But if we hit 100 people, you hit 50, I hit 50, we're gonna hit a yes.
A yes.
And once we get that one yes, we can build on that yes. Mm-hmm. But you can't, when you get to call number 27 and you heard no, of course you want to give up. Mm-hmm. Of course you're hurt and you're wounded and you're like, you feel personally rejected. But also, I've also learned something else. A lot of the rejections are not have nothing to do with being personal at all. Some of them are personal, and you have to acknowledge that too. But some of them are just like, it wasn't the right fit, or you're not what they were looking for, or whatever the reason may be that somebody else wants to go with somebody else. But you also, especially in the entertainment business or in the arts, there's things that you can still do on your own. So you could write a script, a screenplay, and you could come out to LA where I live, and you could pound the pavement and see if you could get a bite on that one script. Or you could say, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to gather up a couple of my friends. I'm going to shoot a web series. I'm going to start to build a brand for myself. Or I'm going to gather up a few friends. We're going to put on a stage play based on the same story. Or I'm going to go inside of this ebook realm, publish something on Amazon and iTunes, see how those ebooks sell, build a brand that way. And you're still telling a story. So, in other words, what are you really after? Are you after some anointed success that somebody is going to be a kingmaker and say, I anoint you with this? Or do you want to be in that power position where you come to the table with your own tools? Because I'm glad, I'm hitting the ground running out there in LA. I have a animation that I just finished post-production on, which means that it's complete and we're about to be releasing it soon. I have a sales distribution contract for that in place. I optioned my first script, which means that there is, I made a little money, and I have a chance to possibly work on the film as a director when the film is actually produced. So I'm excited about that. And I just got hired to write 2 screenplays. So I'm doing it. But even if I didn't have those things, I still have other tools in my wheelhouse where I can access. Because trust me when I say those things did not happen the first week I got there, the first month I got there, even the first 3 months I got there. It takes a lot of resolve. And I can't even tell you how many times I went out and had meetings or went and had coffee or, to the point where I'm just like, what's the point of all this anymore? I feel like it's like futile. Do you want to work with me or not? Like, how many more meetings do we have to do? How many times do you have to tell me, oh, I'm going to finally get a chance. I haven't had a chance to look at your script. I'll get around to it when I can. And you start feeling like, am I spinning my wheels? Can I hack it? Do I have what it takes? Because half of this is based in, you have to have faith in yourself. I think it helps to be grounded in a higher power. Because at the end of the day, as much as I care about the arts and I care about this grind and I care about, entrepreneurship and definitely, make craft in your own way, your own path, not having to answer to others for you to make a living, for you to put food on your table. The thing I value, especially now in light of everything that we've been through, I value God and I value my family.
And let's talk a little bit about that. Being a mom and being such an active artist, what's that feel like? And what's that mom and wife? So what's the family life balance of an entrepreneurial artist, mom and wife?
Well, let me start by saying I do have a wonderful husband. David Harper is amazing in so many ways. We were meant to be together. He is also an artist, a writer, director, producer. He started off as an actor in this business, and then he transitioned behind the scenes, and we've worked on a lot of things together through the years. But outside of the things we do together creatively, we share a very special and deep bond that helps keep me grounded. He is definitely my better half. Our son, Solomon, is 7 years old now. And every time I see him smile or I hear him laugh, I'm reminded that there's a God in this world. So I feel that that's the thing that touches me. When I see him, it definitely helps me keep going. That's the reason why I think I probably have more resolve to deal with the rejection now than ever before. Because I have David and most especially because I have Solomon. When I see Solomon, I see like, okay, Dara, whatever excuse you had, whatever chip you have on your shoulder, like, get over yourself. Like, if you're having a rough day and it's just like, F everybody, F the world, I can't believe this, like, why are these people playing these games? If you start like letting it get into your head, then you will find yourself in a position where you won't get back out there. The first day that you don't do what you set out to do or what you should be doing to work towards your goal, you'll say to yourself, I'll get to it tomorrow. Tomorrow comes and it's more of the same, and you look up and it's a month later and you still haven't moved towards your goal, whatever that may be. But Solomon will not let me go. Not even a day. Truthfully, not even an hour. Because I feel like I have to keep pushing. And now I feel like it's not just about even David and Solomon and me. It's about our whole family unit. Because this is the family that nurtured us, that shaped who we are. Like, when I think about my dad and my mom, and I think about Mother Dear and Aunt Ruth, and of course Aunt Shirley. I think about Aunt Joyce. I think about all of the people who loved us and nurtured us. Too many people to just name in this podcast. But these are the people who believed in us and wouldn't take us giving up for anything. Some people want to pursue the arts or start a business or set out for a special goal, and their whole family is telling them, you better not do that. Just go on and get you a job at the post office or go work at the factory or something. I mean, why you got to go do that? If anything, our family was like, if we tried to go work a day job, why are you still working that day job? You know, that's not you. That's not you. Like, you keep complaining about it, and I don't want to hear it, because even sometimes I would complain to mom about different things. I don't want to hear it because, Dara, that's not even what you should be doing right now. You should be doing, you've got a lot of talents. You could be doing all these other things if you wanted to do. Ma, I can't do that. Like, this check comes every 2 weeks. This is, I'm trying to stick this out. It's just a hard time. Okay, well, I don't want to hear you complain. Like, if anything, our family was pushing us to not stay in that. So that was a different and a very unique and special blessing in and of itself. So now, fast forward to today, it's 2018. We live in a time, and like I said, beyond even our family, I think about the times our country is in, right? So in this new era of an America with a president like Trump, and all of the, I also work in an after school program, and some of my in LA, and some of my children, some of their parents and their family members are undocumented. So some things like touch me and bother me on a completely different level, because I'm looking in the faces and the eyes of these children, and I know all of the potential dangers that are never too far away. So in this era, in this time, when we have a slogan that says Black Lives Matter, but the real questions about what's happening to our community, and whether it's Flint, whether it's someone like Philando Castile, whether it's so many different levels to the decimation of our community that hurt me. So I know that I'm an artist, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a mom, I'm a person who loves my family, but as a Black woman living in this America, I would be remiss not to acknowledge the scope of all of these things.
And that's so telling. Like, people always wonder, like, we'll go back and forth, but always, like, steel sharpening steel in a lot of ways, because we have different viewpoints about a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And even the influence of family, because my dad, and any stories I hear about my granddad from Grandma Vale, it's like I'm way more of the belief that America has always been this way. The discrimination, the racism, the segregation that exists. Because I hear some of these stories about Granddad, just down to like I don't know if you know this story about Granddad, but this is classic how he kind of got into the nightclub business. Like, he used racism as a competitive advantage in business.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with this. I'm familiar with this story. Yes.
So starting out, and our grandfather Don Scott owned for years one of the largest nightclubs in Cleveland that people remember, named after our grandma, Vale Scott. Vale's on the Circle. Right now it's in the Cleveland Clinic District, mm-hmm. and Cleveland Clinic is known across the nation for a lot of their different efforts for all types of just different diseases mm-hmm. that are in urban places and made money off of. So, like, the diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, different forms of cancer. Like, they do a lot of studies on stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Basically, all the food that you'll eat in ghettos, the monies that hospitals make off of that is made from the Cleveland Clinic, and they grow off of that. You know, that's almost like one of the biggest funders for even the Cleveland Cavaliers, like one of their biggest sponsors. But Granddad started his nightclub business. For everybody knows, like, this is like, the older I get, the more it just starts instilling in me, because some of these stories are even true with my dad and some of the things he's done. Like, he met, first off, Grandma Vale because she was at a court reporting place, and what he said, I want to find the cleanest but least active club during the week, and it was owned by like some Jewish gentleman in downtown Cleveland. And he said, I want to buy out this bar, and I want to have this during like the time where it's going to be like almost like not like an after work affair, right? And he said, and the bar owner said, you're not going to make money. You know, black people aren't going to come, but if you want to buy it, you can buy it. You can have it all, you know? And he went to the court reporting place and he said, all right, give me the names of everybody downtown that gets tickets. Because his thought process was black people are going to be the people that get parking tickets. And he got their addresses and sent them personal invitations for 4 weeks straight. The first week, only like 5 people came. The second week, maybe 15 people came. By the 5th week, it was half packed. 6th week, fully packed. From there on, people were changing and leaving work early on a Wednesday night to get over to his night. Like, and he would always do stuff like that. Like, his thought process was like almost using the fact that he knew that white people wanted to be separated from black people so much, and that the justice system would do anything to oppress black people, that he would always use it as a competitive advantage in business. You know, down to like, he wouldn't put flyers in certain districts. He wouldn't, he would even like, in negotiations, almost in liquor negotiations, he'd say, hey, you know, I know some of these other young promoters, you know, if you don't want to give me the price you want on liquor, you know, some of those younger promoters may go down to the places, you know, in Italian part of Cleveland. And then he'd get the rates that he wanted. So it's like, I think that America's always, like, racism is one of the most American things. The older I get, I've been more altruistic at times, but it exists. It's a part of the temperature for America, and the more we understand how it functions, that segregation will exist. Then in business, you have to use it to your competitive advantage, especially if you're black.
I'll say that this country was founded, I mean, America as we know it, not what the Native Americans had, but America as we know it, these United States.
America.
Yes, was founded on racist principles.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, it doesn't, you know, even like the founding
stolen land,
stolen labor. Right.
And then on top of that, even like the Boston Tea Party, in reality, it was a loan from the British government where it's like, yo, man, pay us back that. So it's even stolen money from other white people that they didn't want to pay back, and then they get into a fight and not pay it. I mean, so it's and like it's some gangsterism.
The first soldier to lose his life for this country was a black man, Crispus Attucks.
Yeah.
I know my history and I know my present. I mean, I know what America's founded on and all that stuff. But I will say this, and I'm going to say this again, that there is ever-present racism in America, but there's also like glimmers of hope. I feel different today than I did in 2009. And there's like real tangible racist institutions that Barack could never undo. Just couldn't. It's impossible. You know, even 10 terms of a presidency wouldn't have undone it, as entrenched as it is in this country. Mm-hmm. But some things are not just based in the pain that you feel or the actual strife that you go through. It's not based on just the fact that you pay a higher mortgage rate than this person with the same credit score because you're black. It's not just based in the fact that you get pulled over by the police because you're black and you're driving late at night and you're a brother with a nice car or just a brother, period.
You get murdered.
Right. It's not just based in that. It's also based in how you feel. So ask me, how do I feel when I see the Trayvon Martin story? The first thing I thought about was my son. And I called David because he was traveling for work. I said, babe, how are we going to talk to Solomon about this stuff? Because I'm afraid on a different level. Like, I'm always thinking about you and Dad and David. But now I have a son. And I'm afraid that he can encounter a monster, like a George Zimmerman type character. Or one of those officers that goes to that level. I can't help but think of those things. But it's not just about the physical thing or the thing that you go through. It's also the emotion of how you feel.
Yeah.
The emotion of how I feel when I see Trump on television, there's an emotion there. That has nothing to do with, like...
And this is how we're the same, but...
For you, because you've come
to... For me, I'm like, this is how white men feel.
Okay,
for you, it's like, damn, I can't believe.
But I don't believe that's really even how. I would never categorize.
Well, not all white men, but
I would never categorize all of anything.
I would definitely generalize that I think more white men feel like Donald Trump than Bernie Sanders.
Well,
and I think on a level of spectrum,
I can't get down to the nuts and bolts of what percentage of this or what percentage of that. I think all of that would be regional, right? Because I live in a California area, so it was a lot of white guys around me that think exactly like Bernie Sanders. But what I'm trying to say is this. I'm gonna say that some things are not about, like, how you feel. Mm-hmm. Is just like, for example, when people talk about placebo pills, a person is sick and they give the person placebo pills, and the person with placebo pills still
gets healthier.
Right, they feel better.
The feeling is, because
I'm taking this medicine, and even though it's a sugar pill, I don't know that because they always do a control study. I don't know that it didn't have an effect, but the person's blood pressure is lowered, or some positive impact of the person taking the placebo. Mm-hmm. So the point is that how you feel and what you feed your emotional soul, just like when people talk about diet and exercise or health, right? So there's getting on the treadmill, or there's, walking the mile, or there's eating the salad or the healthy thing. Mm-hmm. And then there's like the emotional thing, right? If I have a toxic person in my life, I need to get the person the hell out of my face, because that's going to do more harm for me than me going to the Cheesecake Factory and eating a whole cheesecake.
Or
even though that may sound crazy.
Or even more like someone suffering with anorexia, because even though they're thin, in their mind they're still fat, because it's the mental thing that's going on behind it. And this is very true in this, because I would say that America's more the same, and it's always been like this. We were just living in the Wizard of Oz. But that's my emotion, because I've accepted in my mind, because back to the mental thing, I've accepted in my mind that Donald Trump is more the norm than, and I wouldn't even say
I don't accept that.
And that's what I've accepted.
But see, I've lived in New York, I've lived in Chicago, and I've lived in now LA, and I've traveled a lot.
I guess living in Detroit,
I lived in Detroit in all my life, I probably think exactly like you do.
Possibly.
But see, since I've been other places, I look at it through a different lens.
I've truck drove. So maybe,
if I did those routes on a truck, I probably think that people that don't think like Trump are in the minority.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, that is me. I would think that too. But I guess what I'm also saying is that I think there's layers to it, right? Mm-hmm. So, and to me, like, it's not even about Trump per se. It's really just the people that support him and believe in him, right? It was never really about him, right? It's the mentality of all of it, like you said.
It's not Hitler, like it's the Nazi. It's Nazism. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
He didn't do it on his own, but the whole point is that it goes back into a how do you feel, right? So how do my children feel in the classroom if they see an image of Trump on the screen? Mm-hmm. Emotionally, it's emotional for them. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, it's emotional in a tangible way. A family member may have just been deported the night before, so it's not some abstract thing. How does somebody like image of Jeff Sessions and all that Law and Order stuff as a black man in this country, like some of the policies that he espouses, like some of it's like changing an actual policy, and then some of it's just like exacting terror because how people feel emotionally is a part of their health and well-being, and how they're stripped down, and also how you can uplift yourself and others. So I think like emotionally, what can you do to feed your soul positive things? That's why I said removing toxic people from your life can be just as beneficial as changing your diet.
So in that completely different shift, I plan on, in the positive thing, I'm going to bring you.
Yes.
And then another one of our big homies, our uncle. So like,
Uncle Don D. Scott.
Don D. Scott, another writer, written a lot of movies.
Barbershop is probably his most, what everyone would know him most for, but he's done a lot of film and television projects through the years. And he is a sole survivor in Hollywood, which I'm going to tell you right now. If you last longer than a year in this business as a professional screenwriter, that's an accomplishment. For him to last as many years as he has, and to have like waded through those waters, is an impressive feat. And it speaks to his talent, dedication, and all that. His craft
and skill. I'm going to do a Detroit is Different Film Festival later on in the year. What's the movie you're going to be showing?
It's called The Sky Princess. It's a story about a girl who dreams of becoming a princess, and her wish is granted with the help of a magical owl. This is a family film, and it's an animation that's all in 3D. Vivica Fox is one of our starring voices, and we also have Robert Gossett and Angel Conwell, and it's quite a production. Like it's a feature film, so that means it's a full-length film, a full-length movie, and it's quite an experience. It has music, has lots of things to really love and enjoy for the family, the whole family to come out.
Okay, what was it like being, because you've directed plays, you've written plays, Passing is very much a movie, a play about our family, but Detroit knows that. But what's the difference in directing actors for animation? Like, what's that like?
It's a lot of fun. Voice recording is so much of a relaxed environment. It's not like being on a set where you have, like, in other words, for voice acting, my actors could come in, like, they don't have to have makeup. They can have a baseball cap. They can just be wearing whatever is cool. They like it. I love it. It's what you're trying to do, though, is it requires a lot of imagination, because you're building the voices of these characters and matching them to something on the screen.
Are they looking at the screen as it's happening?
It depends. Sometimes, yes. But sometimes they're not. It depends on if we've gotten to animating that part yet or not. So chances are they won't have it. So they have to really just use their channel their creativity. And they have to pretend. And
then I know, just from a rapper myself, it's weird. Like, people can hear smiles. People can hear grimacing. So, like, did you encourage facial expressions and things like that?
It just depended on it. Like, I knew, like, it's so weird, but I know what I'm listening for. Like, I know what I want in a voice. So if I know I have a scene with characters who are fighting, or if they're having an argument, or even if it's like a great time, like one of my characters has a birthday party that's really cool, I know the kind of excitement or what I'm looking for, the nuances in the voice, the texture of the voice. And I'm a stickler for letting the actor, find that voice organically. And then honing it, like giving certain notes that I want to refine this, refine that. But I did work with a very talented cast. So I worked with all seasoned voice actors for this, and that made it a lot easier. I didn't really have any first-time voice actors except for my their children. So, Solomon, your nephew, is in it. He's a voice actor in it. And it was a lot of fun to direct my son in the recording booth. Okay. Lots of excitement there. And it was so funny because, like, I wanted him to repeat a line. And he was like, I said that already, mommy. You know, like I wanted a different take on it. So we had to like get a little creative and maybe like bribe him with a cookie, like hang in that booth, son. We need one more take.
So Oreos are needed for child recording.
No, he wants more than Oreos. He wants like one of those Panera Bread warm chocolate chip cookies. The boy has expensive taste.
We definitely did not. Yeah, we were some freeze pop kids. Well, not even freeze, the twin pop. We were some twin pop kids. Mm-hmm. Old school. Old school. So we're driving over to the point in the interview where I'm going to ask the two. I've already asked the classic Detroit is Different question when I had you all before, but now I got two more. And I know the answer to one of these questions. And this is going to be a funny story, too, because I know the answer. But I don't know the second part of it. What was the first car you owned? Year, make, model, and what year did you get it?
1984 Buick Century. And I got it in 2000.
How long did it last?
I got it in 2000 or 2001. Maybe about a year and change.
Where did you go when you first got the ride?
Oh, Mom and I, it was Aunt Ruth's car. She sold it to me, and bless her heart, it was so funny because I think I bought it from her for like $800, and then something broke with the radiator, and I had to spend like $500 to fix it, and so she sent me back the difference. I love Aunt Ruth. What ended up happening was the first place I drove it was from, well, technically, Ma did most of the driving on that trip, but it was when we took the bus or the train to Chicago to pick up the car, and then we drove back to Detroit. Mm-hmm. So that was the first place. It hit the road on 94. Mm-hmm.
And then that car ended up being a hand-me-down to me.
I thought you had Mother Dears.
Nah, for a while I had that car for a second. And that car had no AC. That car was the worst.
You don't really need AC, but that much.
You needed AC
hit the windows.
One of them summers.
It had good heat, though.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's all you need in the D is good heat. I mean, I've had many cars without AC. I mean, AC is a luxury.
Shit, no, it's needed sometimes. All right, so what is another question? All right, you're a DJ. You're playing 3 songs. It's the end of the fireworks, and you're at Woodward and Jefferson. You're a DJ. You get to play 3 songs for the crowd. What are you playing?
I'm gonna play "Got to Give It Up," Marvin Gaye.
Okay.
I'm gonna play what's that song? I Give You Love. I Give You Peace. What's that song? You had that on the radio the other day.
Oh, L.J. Reynolds.
Yeah. I'm gonna play L.J.
Key to the World. Okay.
I don't play Key to the World just because.
Okay.
And then I may play Sky's the Limit, Biggie Smalls.
I'm with it. Get my daughter this college plan so she don't need no man.
Yeah, but make sure on top of that college plan that you have another plan.
Yeah, it's March 10th. Biggie Day was yesterday.
All
March
right.
9th.
All right.
You know, to this day, it's so funny because I remember I didn't even know my mom knew Biggie. The day Biggie was murdered, I woke up, I walked downstairs. My mom was like, you know, Biggie got murdered. Biggie got shot. And I was like, Mom, you know who Biggie is? I mean, it's like I had the pictures up on the wall and stuff, but... And then I'm like, my mom don't know who Biggie is. She don't know. And then I turned on the TV and I saw the brat crying on the corner. And I was like, damn, I guess Biggie did get... I'm like, I got life after death upstairs. I'm like, this is crazy. It was...
yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot to process.
Yep.
Very, very prolific brother.
Oh yeah. That whole time I had your other movie. I had your lead actor's brother taking me to Biggie because she stayed in Brooklyn. I'm like, yo, you gotta show me some of this Biggie stuff.
Michelle's brother, yeah.
Yeah, Lee.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. How do
Thank
people
you.
get in contact with you if they want to buy something, or you do all types of stuff?
I do.
You know.
So theskyprincess.com, and we're also on Facebook. So you can check us out there. And I'll send you those links.
Yep, and then also in October, you're coming for the Detroit is Different
I'm so
Film
excited.
Festival.
I cannot wait for the Detroit is Different Film Festival.
We're
not going to get turned up. We're going to get turned up.
Turned.
And we're going to have lots of fun.
I know.
Lots of films.
You talking about doing a possible, like, we may get my friend Kai.
Oh, yeah. Actually, we're going to...
We may have a show in the...
That's going to be a surprise. That's going to be a surprise. Like that line in... I'm not one to quote Lil Wayne songs often, but let her see the ass and let the rest surprise her. You know, let the rest surprise them.
But yeah, we may do a couple different things while you're here. Because it may be interesting to have like an on hands, like make it a little bit more interactive. We may do something interactive because as much as people, you know, I'm thinking traditional film fest, we show movies, we're going to have some conference talks, but we may do something interactive because people love interaction nowadays. And we can
do a project. We'll come up
maybe
with some
right
cool ideas.
On with like you could be, maybe that may be something you could be in a movie.
Yes, as opposed to just sitting in the audience. What if you join us?
Learn
in a movie?
line.
Yes.
And just see how that, whatever that
like
comes.
we write a script on the spot and just shoot
something.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Detroit is Different is where you get information, artistry, history, music, and even comedy. Detroit is Different, a home for the culture of Detroit. Visit online at DetroitisDifferent.com today